Well, alrighty, kids. How are you? I thought I'd throw in a little freaky freaks there. I'm kind of revisiting it on my own. It's real cool. So, hey, welcome. Glad you could join us. I know it's been a little hit and miss these days, but I appreciate you hanging with me through all the thick and thin. It's been wild for everybody, and if you're here, you probably will agree with that. Last couple of years have been wild. I don't know what else to say. It's been nutty. Sorry, get the last bit of that coffee in. I hope you guys are doing well. As I said, it's been a wild time for everybody, and certainly I appreciate those of you who still come every now and then. I try to do it every week if I can. We'll try to get to more. Hopefully this year will be the year that happens. There are, unfortunately, still a number of medical things and health issues that have to be dealt with, but barring the complete inability to do it, I'm just going to continue to try to do this as best I can. And I wanted to thank you for part of that, right? Because I'm just going to be honest, I was super discouraged, after kind of this whole thing, and kind of the part that I played in it, right? I mean, I kind of came to the understanding that most of our failures, just like a con man, right? The confidence isn't in the con man that gets you to believe in yourself, right? That you're too smart to be taken advantage of. You're too smart to be fooled. That's the confidence. That's the misplaced confidence. You already don't trust the guy because he's a stranger, right? You're already going to be on your, your spidey senses are up. It's too good to be true, right? But then, right, they get you into thinking that you're too smart to be fooled. And that's where they get you, right? That's where the confidence always goes wrong. And likewise, right, if we think we know everything, right, it's the lies we tell ourselves are way worse than the ones that others tell us. Because if others tell us a lie, right, it's easy to justify, well, I didn't know, I was being lied to, I was misled. But the lies we tell ourselves are usually the things that we know better, right? We know that we know. We know what we are. We know when we make promises that we're unlikely to keep them, some of them, right? We know. Just randomly, I considered there was I saw somebody on a social media site this week say something about, bravery, right? True bravery is serving Jesus, right? I agree with that because we'll talk about it tonight. What he promised us, right, was not a life of ease, but rather he promised us, right, that we would be hated and reviled by everybody for his name. If you're really following him properly, you're probably going to be ostracized, right, and treated pretty badly. If you're not, right, if you are the most popular guy or gal in school, it seems, at least what Jesus said, right, is that if you are friends with the world, then you are an enemy of God. Right? Doesn't mean you can't have friends in the world. That's not what he's saying. But if you are so tempted by and so desirous of and so addicted to the mod cons, all the modern conveniences that we have, and you're unwilling to give that up, all right, to take up your cross daily and follow him, as he said, then you're not worthy of the kingdom. See, Jesus said, anybody who puts his hand to the plow and then turns back is not worthy, right? And I'm not making judgment. I'm just saying that this is, again, the parable of the sower. The sower sows the seeds, right? And he says, some land on the side of the road where the rocks are, right? And the birds come and steal it. And some are, they grow up, but quickly drowned out by weeds and thorns. Others begin to spread root, but their roots don't go deep enough. But those few, where the good seed lands into good ground, fallow ground, they bear fruit, right? Up to 100 times more. But what happens to the others, right? Either they have died of their own volition, or the harvester comes in and separates the wheat from the chaff and sends all the chaff to the fire. Now, again, he didn't say this to scare us, right? To be, my way or the highway. But he is telling the truth when he says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. There is no other way but by me, right? Because we are born not of our own accord. It's not your fault. You were born poisoned, right? And it is a lethal dose. You will die. And there is only one cure, right? But what it does is it takes bravery, right? And so it is. So somebody posted this. The bravest thing, right, is to follow Jesus in the world, knowing that it will hate you. Somebody immediately followed up by saying, follow a man? That sounds like subservience to me, not bravery. Well, I can appreciate that, but I can tell you that having tried my best to direct my own life early on, I made a ruddy mess of it. I mean, epic. I made some epic errors of judgment. And frankly, some of them didn't seem like it, right? Any educated person would have, a rational thinking person probably would have done similarly in the same circumstances, but didn't, because I wasn't aware I was being deceived. What was the first thing Jesus said? Be not deceived, right? And so I think it is actually one of the bravest things you can do is to trust without knowing the outcome, right? See, other than the very end, other than that we will spend eternity with him, right? We weren't promised exactly what the outcome will look like, except, right, that it'll be probably both that you will be rejected and ostracized by the world, and all men will hate you for my name, but you will have peace that passes understanding. Quite a dichotomy, I understand. But he said, peace I give, not as the world gives, but the peace that I give to you, right? The peace that passes understanding. And that can only be had, right, through J-Bro. I am the way, the truth, and the life. There are many other paths to go down, and maybe people try them, which is, I guess, cool. Nobody is stopping you. But ultimately, I think you will find, as most have, that in the end, ultimately, those roads all lead to death because they lead into the darkness and away from the light. But the world will tell you, and the wisdom of the world will say, right, that, it's a trick, right? You're being fooled. Don't go into the light, right? What? Go into the darkness? What's in darkness? Death. What's in the light, right? You're being lied to that Dad is not trustworthy and that you cannot trust him and that he is not good. But again, Scripture says, taste and see that the Lord is good. It's up to you. You can try it out. Right? Again, I'm not trying to convince anybody. I'm just telling you, this is my experience, right? And I want to share it with those. I will also tell you, right, that over the last several months, my desire and my heart has been to help anyone that I can, especially as we seem to be getting closer and closer to the conclusion less than the titular name of tonight's message, if you will, our talk, conclusions. As we get closer to it, right, it does appear increasingly that we are coming to the, if not the ultimate, at least the penultimate, right, set of scenarios that leads us into the final conclusion of the history of mankind. Wow, isn't that exciting? And certainly, everyone will say, and we're, again, Scripture certainly says this, that everyone will say, right, the Lord will never come. Look, everything has been since the way it was since the beginning, and it will always be from now on. Nothing will ever change. You're dumb. And yet, if you're here, you probably have some experience, at least, with the idea that most of what we're told by the mainstream narrative, right, whether that's given us to by the government or by a church or by a philosophy or by an academic, no matter what or where that source comes from, they're pretty much all compromised, and they are lying to you. Now, I have said on many occasions that I consider the a label. I don't really do labels. I consider labels for soup cans, but the label of truther, right, is something of a misnomer because we're actually what we do are breaking down lies. Most of us had come to the conclusion that the stories that we've been told can be disproven. I don't really care for the term debunked because it gets used wildly inaccurately. But let's go with we can falsify most of the claims made by modern science, modern academia, modern historians, modern government, modern philosophers, you name it. Everything is a lie. Does that mean that we are any closer to the truth? Only by virtue of the fact that we reject the lies and we accept them for what they are, lies. And we simply know that where they're leading is not there. That's, in some ways, the best we could do on our own, is to reject the lies, right? And again, I'll share with you, when asked, I'll just come up here and throw down here for, go here, go, Matthew 22. So when I typically go to a low 13, it's just about the same. Whoops. Apparently I can't spell. Matthew 22 is what I want. And I want to do, where's the thing here to bring this up there like that? Okay, Matthew 22 here. Let's see. Silliness. Okay, I'm trying to get there. All right, so we want to go Matthew. Here's the first of the book of the New Testament, the first of the four Gospels, Matthew 22. This is the where again Jesus gave the parable of the banquet, but this is where again, paying taxes to Caesar and Sadducees and the resurrection. There's a lot of good stuff in here. The greatest commandment, right? Which is the greatest commandment in the law? Jesus said, love the Lord thy God with all your heart and all your soul and all your mind. And this is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is just like it. Love your neighbor as yourself, and all the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments, right? So if you get somebody up your butt going, you got to keep the commandments. There you go. Right? I follow Jesus. He is the commandment. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Nobody goes to the Father but by me. Do we go through the 10 commandments anymore? No. Right? I mean, I'm not telling you to break them, but Jesus fulfilled it. He is the law, right? He is the fulfillment. And so we follow him, right? And it is through his grace and his that we receive salvation. All the law and the prophets hang on these two. Love your neighbor as yourself. It also says that the entire law is fulfilled in love. Okay, let's slither down here. This is what I was trying to get to. See, I did bad. It's actually Matthew 23 and then 24. This is all when he's in Jerusalem just before the crucifixion. All right, so they tippled instructions and they said, hey, when will these things be, right? When will these things tell us? They said, when will these things happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? So are we at the end of the age? Let's find out, right? Maybe I'm full of shit. And again, I'm not claiming for sure that that you should believe that we are. I'm just telling you that from my perspective, it seems like we're there, right? So, yeah, God's laws are written on our hearts. That's perfect. Exactly, right? He is the law. He is love, and law is fulfilled in love. Who is love? God is love, right? So again, I say this over and over, right? It's not complicated, but it's not easy, right? It's the most difficult thing you can be asked to do, which is to let go and let God, right? To be still and know that I'm God and trust that he is good, even when it's dark, right? It's been one of the most difficult challenges for me, but the best lesson I've ever learned. Because now, no matter the circumstances, even when I can't see the way forward and it looks impossible, I know that He's good. And just like Job said, though He slay me, yet will I trust in Him always, right? Without any doubt. So Jesus said, in response to, they said, "Hey, what's going to happen, right? What will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the stage, right?" The first thing He says, and I'll repeat this over and over: see to it that no one deceives you, right? Don't be deceived. So what does that tell you? The first thing out of His mouth: don't be deceived. What is He saying, right? People are going to come and lie, right? And He says that. So where are we at? Again, I have promised to, and I will continue, and I will fulfill that promise, right, of going through the entire book of Revelation and what I see now. But I have been wanting to set it up and go, why, right, and how are we going to look at it? What I talked about last time is the standard interpretation model, at least the way that I can see, which is basically the Essene model, right, is to read it as though it were written as is. He wrote it just doing the best they could to describe what they're seeing. And if there is a symbolic thing, they will tell you it's a symbolic thing. And if you are going to interpret it as symbolic, then you need to have at least two other references scripturally that match it, right? You can't just pull it out of your ass like a rectal extraction and go, this means this. Because anybody can do that. And over I hear people say, oh, the scripture, Bible is just it's an esoteric book full of all this secret knowledge, right? 12 months, 12 disciples. I was like, okay, the creator of the universe probably knows numbers, right? Yeah, sure, 12 months, 12 signs of the zodiac. You don't think he might use the same set of numbers over and over? It's not the other way. But hey, if you can come to me and you got the secret decoder ring that takes every single line of scripture and turns it into something that actually has meaning that you can demonstrate, I'm all ears. I don't see anybody that can do that. But what I can see is when I read scripture and the Spirit speaks it to me, it has power and it speaks life, right? It brings me to life, and my understanding increases. If anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask of the Father, right? Who gives without recompense, right? He doesn't ask for it back. He gives it, right? He doesn't ask for it back. So there you go, right? So take the gifts that He's given, you move on. Anyway, all that to get here, right? So he lists these things, but he says, hey, you'll hear of wars, rumors of wars, but see to it that you're not alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there'll be famines and earthquakes in various places. But all these are but the beginning of birth pains. I could say, to me, this is right where we are, right? Hey, welcome, Life and the Truth. Great to see you. And those, again, few of you who are here this evening, thanks for being here. And if you're here later and doing it on demand, welcome as well. Anyway, point being, right, so again, Matthew 24 and Luke 13 are just about the same. They reference exactly the sort of same stuff, but they give us these indications of what we can look for, right? And there's an interesting couple of things here. In fact, I just want to do this real quick because tonight is, I called it conclusion. Right? What is a conclusion? Of course, the conclusion is an ending of all things, right? And so I have often said that I'm hesitant to use the word that I've come to conclusions, or that I'm drawing conclusions, partly because I don't draw so well. But no, because that says it's an end to the thing, right? To conclude is to come to an end. So you're coming to the end of the thing. And when you draw conclusions about a matter, then you've made it come to a good decision, your mind is made up, and now you are no longer likely, in fact, it will be very difficult for you to accept any new information because you've already come to a place where, again, you've reached a conclusion. It has concluded, and there's no more information to be taken. And once you believe you know everything, well, I think you can understand what happens thereafter. But in regard to coming to conclusions, right, I just did it's interesting that I come to these are the first things that popped up, right, when you do just a quick word search here. I love this one because this is Ecclesiastes, and if you're not familiar with it, it's great. It's like a companion piece to Proverbs, right? Great wisdom there. But he comes to the end and he says, all is vanity, right? Everything is vanity. It's all just arrogance, right? Because doesn't matter what you do in your life, everyone dies. The good people die, the bad people die. Rain comes down on the good and the bad. Sun shines on the good and the bad. Weird things happen to people. Life happens. What does it mean, right? And he said, his whole story, I set myself to learn everything I could. I learned everything I could, and I realized that I couldn't talk to anybody because everybody was so I went the other way, and I embraced folly. I became a drunk, and then I realized I was a drunkard and I was ruining everything. So then I looked for love, right? And so I set myself to know the depths of physical love. And so he, got 1,000 concubines and stuck it in every hole he could. And he says, ultimately, he's like, this is empty too. And then he said, so then I took up public works projects and I built these amazing structures. And then I looked at it and I said, hey, this is great. But at the end, when I die, it's going to go to, somebody else, either my offspring or somebody who fights for the kingdom. And who knows if they're an idiot, right? They didn't build it. They didn't have the wisdom to do this. That was me. And what happens after we go? We all go to be worm food. And so he considers these things and he says, it's all vanity. But ultimately he gets to the end and he says, what? When all has been heard, the conclusion of the matter is this: fear God and keep his commandments, because this is the whole duty of man. And what are his commandments? Love the Lord with all your heart and all your strength and all your mind and all your spirit. And then love your neighbor as yourself. It's interesting because it says as yourself. Like you can't love your neighbor if you don't love yourself. And you don't even know what love is, truly, without a relationship with the very definition and embodiment of love, and that is the Creator, right? God is love. And so you cannot know love without that encounter. Everything else is but a weak substitute, right? You're eating the worst vegan tofu when a ribeye is sitting right there waiting for you, right? Just waiting for you to dig into it. Because Dad loves you, right? He loves his creation. You're his child. How could he not? Right? But the enemy lies and says, "Oh, he's a bad guy, and he's just jealous, right? He just wants everybody. He just wants worship." Well, once you see him and understand who he is and what he's done, worship is an appropriate response. People don't like fear. Fear the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Oh, we have to fear him. Oh, that's tyranny. Really? I would expect that if you were confronted with what we're being told in the news now, aliens, 8, 9, 10-foot tall shadow beings, you'd be afraid. And that's just some being. You don't even know what could do to you. What about the creator of all things? Shouldn't that shake you up a little bit? I know it did me. I was like, oh, poop, I'm in trouble. Oh, I'm dead. And then I was surprised to find out that he didn't intend to kill me. Because he loves me. And it took me a long time to realize that his love wasn't based on what I did, because there was nothing I could do that was really worth getting his attention other than spending time with him. Right? That's what he wanted. It seems to be that's what he made all of this for, was because he wanted to be in companionship with us. He wanted to love us. And that's why when the enemy says, hey, I'm going to win this by numbers, I'm going to take everybody with me, he says, okay. Just like the parable of the sower. The sower scatters the seed, right? And yes, while 80% of it goes to waste, the ones that do take hold and bear fruit bear 100-fold, right? It's worth it. So Dad said, okay, right, you take the other ones. You take the ones that don't want anything to do with me, but I'll take the good ones, right? Because he's wise. I love him. He's awesome. But back to this. I bounce all over the place. But back to this thing of conclusion, right? So Ecclesiastics said, hey, we're going to come to the conclusion of the matter. The whole thing is to fear God, keep his commandments, right? This is the whole thing. But then we have some other place, right? Let's see. Why is it just doing it in this? There we go. I want... move this over so I can do this. Oh, come on. You're not making it easy. We'll do that one. All right. Okay, and then we're going to do this. Like that. Like that. Oh dear. Okay, we're going to try it again. Okay, there we go. All right. So there are several of these in. I don't know why its search isn't doing me very good here. We have beware of the concision, but that's not conclusion. They did me weird here because I had a great list from here. I'll just do it from my iPad because maybe it's the wrong version, but it was using the same app. I don't know. It's so weird. All right, let me find this because when he says the conclusion, right? There's some interesting places that it gets used, right? Again, we're talking about the end of the matter, bringing things to an end. Oh, sorry, just reading chat a little bit. Oh, while I'm waiting, let me do this. I want to just say thank you for you right now coming by and saying hi. It really is meaningful to me, right? And it's kind of the only reason I do this now is to be faithful to Dad, who asked me to do it, and faithful to you. And it seems, again, the few letters that I get and that sort of stuff, the few people who do continue to contact me are grateful. And I'm grateful for you being here. So, hey, it's all good with all of us. But I want to say special thanks for Andrea. Thank you so much for being faithful and for your love. Megsy, thank you for being a friend and being so patient with me. It might sometimes takes me forever to respond, but you have been faithful and you're awesome. And David and Jenny, I love you and I pray for you daily, as well as you, David. Best, you are the best, and I love having you as my friend. And Daryl, you're the man, dude. I'm so impressed. You amaze me every day, every time we talk. There's so many. I know now I'm going to feel bad I'm going to not remember everybody. But I am so thankful for all of you. And I want to just, at the end tonight, I want to, if you're willing, just spend a moment and pray for a couple of people because, Scripture says the prayer of the righteous man availeth much. And I don't know really any righteous people, so I figure we're going to we'll substitute, right? So we'll pray for friends who are in need. All right, so I'm going to jump to this. Oh, yes, here we go. 2 Corinthians 5:14. On conclusion, for Christ's love compels us, since we have reached this conclusion. If one died for all, then all died. All right, and he's saying this is in the context of greater love hath no man than he that gave his life to a friend, laid his life down for a friend, right? It's pretty awesome. But also, Jesus said, right, this is the one that really gets me, right, is enduring until the end. I've been seeing it over and over in Revelation, over and over. He that endures to the end shall be saved. But the number of times that we find enduring, right, in the New Testament is remarkable. And the number of times Jesus said it is, again, remarkable. The number of times that Jesus asks us to endure. So endurance doesn't come that we're not going to endure a number of blessings, right? What we endure adversity, right? So he asks us to endure, right? Blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he's been proved, he'll receive a crown of life that God has promised to those who love them, right? Patience is necessary for you, that in doing the will of God, you may receive the promise. Enduring until the end, right? It is going to be challenging. It already is, right? It already is. But here we go. Strengthened with all might, according to the power of his glory, in all patience and long suffering of joy, stand firm, right? Stand. And having done all to stand, stand. Right? Labor as a good soldier of Christ Jesus. We are at war, right? We are at war. And most people don't even know there's a war on. It is time to get up. The conclusion is upon us. And if you haven't noticed, right, we can take a look here and just get a sense of what's happening around us. And again, I know that you guys are way on top of this more than I am, right? I don't need to tell you any of this stuff, right? But just to look, right? We already know, for example, if we put in like black swan, right? They'll tell us openly that there are black swan events, right? U.S. elections to get derailed by a black swan event, top 2024 risk, right? They tell us, oh, black swan, right? So events that could throw 2024 into turmoil. They're telling us, right? 2024 is a year that something is going to happen. Black swan looms in 2024. Expert warns of unprecedented economic upheaval, right? Election disruption. Why? Well, because they're talking about this, I gotta be careful about what I say because they've already demonetized me. Not that I really got any money that way anyway, but it's nice to have a quote professional channel. So anyway, so Civil War talk in presidential contest reveals fresh divisions, right? So they are telling us, right, to get ready for civil war. In fact, if you look for it, right, this bit right here, what I'm typing in right now, the Lone Star State and those who come in, right, that is going to be a bone of contention, right, because the federal government and the state of Texas are in loggerheads over this right now. They're suing one another. And I don't know, again, you may not know this, but having spent 20 years in Texas and having taken, by requirement, Texas history, if you know history about it, you know that when Texas joined the United States, they were an independent sovereign nation. The state of Texas was the country, state. In fact, in the U.S., state is actually a country. I don't know if you were aware of that, but right. And a sovereign state is a nation, right? The federal government was a federation, right? It federated a bunch of different countries that got together, like the European Union, for mutual protection, an army and a navy, and because they were protecting against pirates, right? Piracy, and they're kind of to help with trade, a common currency, so they could do that. That was the intent, or at least that was the stated intent. Not necessarily what they actually did. But when Texas joined, right, the United States was already a state, and Texas was already a state, right, or a country, and when they joined, they reserved the right to either be split apart into as many as up to 5 different states, because the great amount of land mass that they had, and they understood at the time it was difficult to basically govern over, right, such disparate and far-flung places, that they reserved the right to break themselves up into as many as 5 states and reserve the right to name them as they choose, or to secede without any repercussions whatsoever. So Texas right now still has the right. Now, again, I don't know what they would do. I'm sure they would get sued and they would try to do some interesting stuff. But according to the treaty that was signed that brought Texas into the United States, they have every right to leave and become their own sovereign nation. And certainly those words have been used in Texas in the last 2 years dealing with this issue, the immigration issue in particular. I noticed when I put in this, when I put in the other word here, right, if I go to here, this word here, right, so, sorry, I didn't mean to put the S there, but the big stink with Republican candidate Nikki Haley, because she was asked what the cause of the Civil War was, and everybody expected, her to say slavery. That's the mainstream narrative answer. But if you're a student of history, you know that is an uneducated and ignorant answer, because slavery wasn't the root cause of the Civil War. Was it an issue? Yes, it was an issue between the states, and it was considered kind of a moral issue from some. And certainly, I agree that slavery is immoral and against God's kingdom. But nevertheless, beside all that, right, slavery was only brought in as a leveraging tool when things were getting dicey for the North, right? It was really about money, and to prove it, again, don't trust me. Just if you got the wherewithal, just go. It's on the internet. I mean, you can find it, but you got to study. You got to do it for yourself. Go back and look at. They kept records, of all the arguments and all the debates on the floor of the Senate and the House. Everybody's talking about what's going on. They had many arguments for about 3 years leading up to the Civil War. You know what they were talking about? Money. The Federal Reserve Bank, whether or not to have a central bank, right? Whether or not to set up a fractional reserve system, and to become under the thumb of European bankers. And the South had a different kind of economy, right? Say they had an agrarian economy in which the plantation owners would plant the seed and wait for their harvest to come back. But harvests aren't guaranteed, right? And they needed the slaves, right, to provide all the labor. And during this time, right, what was going on in the South? Cotton. Cotton was king. Why? Because cotton had been a very difficult textile to make previous to Eli Whitney discovering or inventing the cotton gin, right? And so now it could be reliably grown in the South with massive amounts of basically free or cheap labor to pick it, and a cotton gin. And it was replacing wool, flax, and linen in Europe as the primary textile. And prior to this time, textiles had been so expensive. I mean, it was an heirloom item. You didn't throw away clothes. There was no such thing as fast fashion. You would hand down items of wear, in fact, all your fabric of any kind, textiles of any kind, to generations. Linens, literally bed sheets, were listed on household items as part of your inheritance. It was as valuable as gold because you couldn't afford. It was so expensive to make and produce textiles until, again, the Industrial Revolution. So in the agrarian South, what would happen, right, is that especially because of the boll weevil, which comes in and gives problems with cotton production or the cotton plants, right? It created a bad couple of years down south. And so they needed money because they had to put all their money, all their seed in, and they didn't get much of a return out of it, right? So now what do? Now you're stuck. So what do? They go to bankers. Well, the United States is still pretty new at that time and don't have a central bank. So they go over to European central banks who are run by, guess who? If you know that name, and other, bankers, right? The Rothschilds. So they go there and they go, hey, loan us some money, right? And but when we'll give you a substantial discount on the goods, right? The cotton that comes over, we'll give you exclusive access to it, and we'll both be fine, right? You'll have a monopoly on the cotton that comes over, right? And we'll be financially set. And so that's kind of the way that the South did from there forward. They had to borrow the money and then hope for a good result. But when everything came back, they could, when they harvested and sold it, they could pay the loan with interest, and then, but they had to borrow again for the next year. So this was going. So they were reliant upon that. Well, the North, on the other hand, was an industrial economy, shipbuilding, the early part of steel and iron manufacturing, and the early parts of the Industrial Revolution happened in the North. So there was manufacturing, right? So all they needed was raw materials, and they could do it. Well, obviously, they did not then require that kind of leveraged economy. That is essentially, ultimately, the nature of the war. And I know that this is unpopular opinion, but according to everything I read at the time, and according to the way that the Constitution was set up, the states in the South had every right to declare secession. That we don't dig what you're doing. We have come to a place where we don't agree anymore, and we're just going to go our own way. And it is my opinion, despite the narrative that we've been told that Abraham Lincoln being a man of God and doing the Lord's divine will to keep the nation together. I don't know, man. I don't know. Because what he did, I mean, he go back and read it, the Fort Sumter, and that's how it started. He forced the South's hand, right? The Fort Sumter was in North Carolina and occupied by the Union forces. When the South seceded, Carolina seceded and said, hey, we're not part of you anymore. They refused to exit Fort Sumter, so a little island, right? And so they wouldn't leave. And so they said, no, leave, or we don't want to have to shoot you. We're still like kind of friendly. We don't make us do that. And it was Lincoln. Read it for yourself. Again, don't trust me. Go read it, right? But be certain that you're not just taking the stupid mainstream narrative. You got to dig, right? But look at what was written at the time, right? Go back to the time when it was firsthand before somebody did, retcon on it, right? Yeah, go back and look. He forced their hand. He made them go fire the first shots so that he could declare war. That's what happened, right? Are we the baddies? Yeah, the North was the baddies. They had no right to demand acquiescence. But the South had every right to go, no, we want to do our own thing. And Lincoln made it about, quote, preserving the nation, preservation of the Union. Yeah, but it's not a union when one partner wants a divorce. And this is exactly, by the way, what happened as part of it. And in the aftermath is when the United States became a corporation instead of a republic. And its citizens, that's right, its citizens were declared enemies of the state. And since the Civil War and the Reconstruction, that has been the official U.S. government policy. Again, oh my God, how can you say that? And conspiracy theorist. I didn't make it up. Just go look for yourself. No, it's not going to be in the evening news. No, they're not going to tell you that, all right, openly. Somebody might, but it's unlikely. But find out, right? Go look. And if you think I'm nuts, that's fine too, right? Go look it up for yourself. Don't trust me. Please don't trust me. I would be very disappointed with anybody who just took my word for it, because that's not what we're doing here, right? I'm just helping you ask the right questions and telling you what I'm looking for. Okay. Let me not belabor the point. Sorry, I'm having drinks here. Let me mute so you don't get grossed out. So I just want to wet my whistle a little bit. The mic is very sensitive. Okay, so all this stuff going on around us, right? What does it tell us? Well, we know things are happening, right? Certainly, we have an election, right? A U.S. election that's going on. And I'm just going to say you heard it here first. And let's see if I can find a reference for this, because I have seen it before. There is evidence, and I don't want to I don't know, make unfounded claims here, but let's see. They'll probably try to debunk it here. But our buddy Vivek Ramaswamy is running for election in the United States, and he's sucking up big to Donald Trump. What's notable about Vivek Ramaswamy is that since about 7 months ago, he changed his tack to sort of attacking kind of the general front runners and going after Chris Christie, who was generally unpopular already. And he suddenly started telling the truth. And when I say telling the truth, I mean pointing out things that nobody else has the balls to say, right? He will openly say, right, what is wrong with the Fed, that the Federal Reserve is unconstitutional, just like, Ron Paul and Rand Paul. They will say it, right? But watch what's happening, right? So he says amazing things, right? I can show you clips of his own YouTube page, right, where he says amazing things. Oh, what does he say? I'll show you this. His latest YouTube, just to point out that, again, I'm not talking out my ass. I mean, I might be, but to show you that it's not. Anyway. Okay, so here we go. We'll go to his webpage, right, or his YouTube thing, and his latest stuff here. Let's see here, latest from. Okay, he just put up a couple in the last couple of minutes, but he said, let's see where we're at here, because I mean, it was on my list here. Just okay, let's see. Find this, because he said, here we go. Here it says embrace the 1776 ideals, but from his own page, and I think he's changed the title now because it was a little uncomfortable. He says, here we go. It's a 1776 moment, right? And but he's trying to get people to agree with this idea of going to war, right? He doesn't want to frame it in terms of a civil war, so he calls it a 1776 moment. The point being here, right, is that your boy, if you listen to this guy, right, he says amazing things, right? He says things that we would agree with, that you and I would agree with, right? He calls people out, and he says it like it is. But the problem you see here, this dude is backed by George Soros. And he may have scrubbed it from here. I have to go to the Wayback Machine. But he was very clearly in the George Soros Young Leaders group, until tapped by Soros to, co-opt the other side. So now he says not just, MAGA Trump stuff for those people who want to hear that. No, the things that he says are what you want to hear, right? Truther stuff. Like, I mean, he will tell you some actual truths, and a lot of things that he says are, generally true, things that you would agree with. Oh, I love it. I love when they do that. But here we go. You can see from the headline here why Ramaswamy, this is from MSNBC, why Ramaswamy hides his Soros fellowship. He was a Soros-funded Scholar, you don't think that changed, do you? All that's changed. It's just like, oh, I forgot this one. Educated in Jesuit schools. So, yeah, I guess that doesn't mean anything, right? Really, right? Okay. But his philosophy is the same. So he knows all the tricks of the trade. He knows how to do subversion. And in this case, you're feel free to disagree with me. And if you like the guy, I'm totally okay with it. Not any skin off my back. It is not up to me to. Oh, by the way, this is Paul and Daisy Soros, the website. You see that? Fellowship for New Americans. Do you see what I'm looking at here? This is not somebody, this is not some conspiracy site. This is Paul and Daisy Soros. That's George Soros' son and daughter-in-law. And he is listed on their page. Just want you to notice. Here's the link. And you can, there we go. I'll paste it down here so you can check it out for yourself. I would never lie to you. I might be mistaken, but I wouldn't lie to you. Right? I reserve the right to be wrong, but I will not knowingly mislead you because it doesn't serve my purposes. Anyway, yeah, so Soros scholar, and you think he suddenly is now speaking more truth than anybody else? No. And so he says Nikki Haley is Hillary Clinton, in heels. It's true. Nikki Haley is certainly, again, she's a leftist in the Republican Party. And you can tell that by what she says. I have said over the last couple of years, one of my favorite, proverbs, Native American proverbs, says that the most eloquent statement in nature is found at the tail end of a rattlesnake. They will tell you who they are if you're patient enough and observant enough to watch and listen. So, anyway, our boy Vivek, right? So it looks as if, I would just say this, that his intention is to swoop in and get support and from anybody who doesn't trust Trump but likes the whole truther thing, right? They got Nikki Haley. She's going to go with the neocons, and she's going to attract people who don't like Trump but want to hang on to their republicanism. They're party members, longtime party members and donors, but they're never Trumpers. Right. So now you got your three people, right, in there. So they can split your attention any way they want. They can give you Nikki Haley if you're a tie-wearing, hardcore, multi-generational Republican conservative. You're going to go with that. And she's deep in the pocket of both the military-industrial complex and, her New World Order handlers. And of course, you got Trump. We all know what he's about. Basically, he's a lightning rod and a piñata, basically, for the media, which you saw during his last administration. They imbued him with everything that they hate about their straw man caricature of what they think conservatives are. And so they put that on him. And then they get to say that everybody in the Republican Party or conservatives are like that, right? So they're evil. They build them up as a source of evil and then burn it down. That's a straw man. Mojo, you're absolutely right. Ross Perot, and in fact, again, I'll admit it clearly, right, that I admit my mistakes, right? So I have told you before that I had, right out of high school, I had gotten a full ride scholarship to law school through the Marine Corps in our OTC reserves. Ostensibly because I wanted to be a lawyer, because I thought, when I looked around, even at a young age, I realized that the world was unfair. And strangely enough, all of us seem to have built into us, hardwired, a sense of fairness. And yet, there is not a single shred of evidence that the world is fair. In fact, it's quite the opposite. And so, while we expect both to have things be fair and live forever, and we're greatly offended when neither of those things are true. So I won't belabor the point. Anyway, I decided that, since the law, since Congress writes the laws and most congressmen or senators are lawyers, then I should be a lawyer, right? And then I could write the laws. And so I set out like pre-law. And scored very high on tests, and so they came a knocking, and they awarded me a scholarship through the NROTC. It's ROTC, but Navy, right? And Marines is a subset of Navy. So I was going to go to JAG Corps, actually Officers Basic. OCS like 2 weeks after I graduated high school, and then immediately going to college, get butter bars, and then as soon as getting out of college, get the you got your second LT, and there you go. And would have made a lot of money and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, then what happened before I could even swear in, they were trying to pull me into, Intel, and I backed out. And that kind of led me down probably how you guys met me, was initially the first conversation I had with Crow 777 about my experience with, brief experience with the intelligence community and what that was like. And I had, again, very long time ago, I was a kid, not really, involved in any way since then, but I, 1-2 experiences with them that at least helped me understand what they're about. And I had at least one classmate who did go into the OPSEC, or rather MilSec Intel. And later we got together after a class reunion some number of years ago, and I won't give up him or what he said, but it was eye-opening. In any case, but what you see is once you see the way those things work, right, especially psyops, right? Really what psyops are, it's basically stage magic, right? It's illusion, and most of which is distraction. Hey, look over here. Right, while I do this. And so it's just like wagging the dog, that sort of stuff. So anyway, we got these different candidates, right? They're supposed to steal your attention and your focus, right? And you're going to believe in them. But it's all bullshit. They're all liars, right? How do you know when a politician is lying? Their lips are moving, right? So don't trust any of them. But we can go back here and we can look at all this stuff in the news, right? So we have this crazy U.S. election, which, according to pretty much all the media sources, could lead to a second U.S. Civil War. Wow, that's pretty wild, huh? I mean, that's ooh. But we also have, you don't have to look very far to find Middle East tensions, right? So we now have, and this is, well, I get, maybe I should do this first, right? I'm going to start here and go back here and then ask about, so there was just a, so there was just an election in Taiwan. The winner of the Taiwan presidential election is a one who's anti-China, and their one China policy, and they're in for Taiwanese independence, right? But China has been pushing, for reunification. They have kept pressing, and they're pretty much saying that we're going to come and take it. Well, most U.S. presidents, in fact, the official United States policy since turn of the last century, about 1911-ish, 1909, has been that we recognize Taiwan's independence and their right to self-rule, a position which every United States administration has held up until about 10 days ago, when Biden told the international press, they didn't really make a stink about it in the American press, but he told the international press that the United States does not support Taiwanese independence. Now, we've said that before, and we've said Chinese, we support the one China policy, which is kind of bullshit. But so that we have long-standing agreements with Taiwan to protect them in the event that they are invaded by China. And we have promised them that for about 110 years. Not that we keep our promises as a government, obviously. But we are, by international law, required to protect them from China should they attack. And Biden specifically said about 8 days ago, pretty much that Taiwan is on their own. We would not intervene. We will not interfere. And Biden is a traitor. Again, not that anybody's better, right? All of it is a play. This is all to make it's all for show, right? The whole thing is an illusion. Not an illusion. It's a play. It's theater, right? It's theater of the macabre to get to the end. And that's why if you look around you and you go, these people are nuts. Why are they doing these crazy things? Nobody in their right mind would do that. Exactly, right? It's not because it's organic and happening because people are choosing certain things. They're playing this out. It's all going to tie up to the end, to conclusions. And that's what that's the today's show. But so we have China about to invade Taiwan. Russia already invaded Ukraine. We're half-assed in the middle of that one already. Poland just elected a new president, and apparently they rigged that election too because the entire population is very unhappy. That is sort of, I was super impressed with the way Poland was sort of handling the Ukraine stuff. And they're obviously right next door, but they were taking a pretty hard line stand and going, we don't trust Russia. We have experience. We don't trust them, so we're not going to give them any appeasement. Well, all of Europe was trying to appease them, and Poland did not. I was amused as I was trying to catch up on different news stuff. The Poland TV, their YouTube channel, they had some interesting characters on there. They were kind of funny, and I liked them better than, they were better journalists than most of the Western, air quotes, journalists. But immediately upon taking the oath of office, the first thing their new president did was shut down TVP. Right, TV Poland, calling it right-wing propaganda. There's nothing really propaganda about it. They did have conservative stances. I mean, they were anti-New World Order and the EU's collectivism. But that's the position their new president has. Is he's all for it, and they're getting all unhappy there because they're really making moves to throw away Polish sovereignty and throw them and Estonia and everybody else into the EU, just like they were the Russian Federation before them. So, tyranny? No, we're going to protect you from tyranny by using our own tyranny, because Western tyranny is better. Yes. So, lest I get further sidetracked. So, you got Russia invading Ukraine, hot war. China, just about to. They're making moves every day. But we do have another hot war, and this is kind of the one. Well, I could set some other stuff up too. We got, in Latin America, right? You got Ecuador having an internal civil war, basically hot war with insurgents and drug cartels. You got what is it? Paraguay? No, going to take over part of Paraguay. It's crazy. They're going to take over half their neighbor because they want to. I mean, what? So they're starting all this garbage down there. And then, but I really want to get to again, of course, Israel and Palestine. It's not really Palestine, right? It's Gaza. Palestine is a word that means the area. It's like saying the Midwest. Midwesterners. What is that? Well, people that lived in the Midwest, Palestinian, anybody that lives in this area of Palestine. It's not there was no Palestine state. There has been. I don't know where people get the idea. Have you studied history? Do you know anything about it? You go back to the 1948 Balfour Agreement, right? Who had it prior to that? Well, it was held by the British since World War I, because what happened in World War I, it was held by the Ottoman Empire, right? Ottoman Empire decided to get in because they'd held 600 years. They'd held this giant kingdom, and they thought, hey, we'll get a little bit more. Germany looks like it's doing good. We'll attach on to that. We'll hitch our horse to that wagon. And they messed up. So they broke up the Ottoman Empire, and that's when they lost, Turkey, all that stuff. So and the British came in and administrated, air quotes, Palestine, the area of Palestine. You could say the Levant, right? The Levantians, is that what we're going to go with? Tartarians or whatever. Again, everything that they're telling you in the news now is not only stupid and apparently written by third graders and read by fifth graders, but and flunky fifth graders did that. But it's lies. Everything. Every time I watch the news, I'm not only stunned at the this is the brazenness of it. Like Biden standing up there going, "Best economy ever." What? No, what? Everyone knows you're just talking out your ass. You're delusional. But they are, right? They just keep saying it as though it were true. And in the past, it's worked. It's just not working well enough now. So what am I getting to with all this? Conclusions. What am I trying to get to, right? Is that it does look like they're trying to bring it into a conclusion by messing everything up, right? And scare you to death. Oh, what's going to happen? So let me come back here. What did Jesus say when he was asked, what are the signs of happening, right? So he says, the first thing, don't be deceived. And the second thing is, right, that take heed, no man seduce you, right? It's so awesome. Many will come in my way, in my name, saying, I'm Christ. And you're going to hear of wars and rumors of wars. See to it that you be not troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. We can also get, depending on the translation that you use, it will also say, wars and rumors of wars, right? And there's going to be earthquakes and nations running against nations and kingdoms, and there'll be famines and earthquakes at the beginning of the birth pangs. If you're not already, you should subscribe or at least go check out a channel called Dutch Sense. I'll just put the name of it here. You can go look for it. He's a cool guy. Dutch Sense, like that. Cool guy. While most of he does earthquake forecasting, and the government hates him for it and has tried to shut him down several times because they say you can't forecast earthquakes, and yet he does it every day because he doesn't listen to their lies and he understands the physics. You might be just disappointed when you first go there to see that he uses the globe model to demonstrate this stuff, but he's also very friendly with those who have geometric agnosticism, as do I. He doesn't make fun of them, and he accepts. In fact, he'll often say, this is the globe view, and there are others who have different view. Yeah, doesn't matter how you view it. Here you go. And I think he sounds like he's only uses the globe model because that's a way to get the mainstream to sort of not to dismiss him right away. But he's a decent guy and seems to love J-Bro as well. And so I can't fault that. But anyway, point being, in the last 10 days or so, there has been a swarm of earthquakes following regional waves. They move in waves, and he's been able to predict a whole bunch of them all over the world, including places they don't traditionally happen, like Oklahoma in the last couple of days. Earthquake swarm down there. Biggest one I think was about 4.2, which, substantial. Bigger than some of the ones that I was in LA, mostly 3 and 4. I missed the 7 and the 8.5 there, so got there after the 8.5 and before the 7. So there's that. Anyway, my point being that if you look at all this stuff, right? So now we have that after the Gazans, I'll say that the Hamas, right, did their thing and they attacked Israel. Now, keep in mind my position on the state of Israel, right? In pretty much all governments in the world right now is that they are all compromised. They're all parts of the New World Order, and everyone is playing a part to move us closer to that situation, right? And that being that they need to make everything so bad and so scary that we will accept it when they go, hey, y'all done messed up here. In fact, we did. We've made such a mess of the thing, right? And it is if I had to prognosticate, which I'm not big on doing, but if I had to guess, right, we're going to have World War III start pretty soon, followed by, they're going to get this Apophis asteroid thing, right? Supposed to schedule it 2029, but it's going to make a close pass. I think they're going to say that the pass is way closer than they thought, and it may come sooner than that. We got to prepare for an impact, right? So now, and I'm kind of basing that largely on Revelation chapter 7, as well as a bunch of other stuff, including, when I was a child, they basically said the Earth has never been hit, nor will it ever be hit by an asteroid or other body that they would burn up in the atmosphere. And that was all the way through my schooling. Weirdly, by the time I got to college, they were now openly talking about the Chicxulub asteroid that ended the dinosaurs, so everybody knew that. We've always thought that, which is nonsense because literally just a few years before that, they vociferously denied that we'd ever been hit by anything. Now, all of a sudden, it's considered, we've been hit by thousands of them. Through millennia, millions and millions of years, we've been hit by billions of asteroids. Oh, boy. Right, how quickly they change, right? But all this, right, now you cannot look at news, at all, right? To just go, hey, you're going to get an asteroid threatening the impact, right? And so, and I love the names they give you, you know, Benunu, you got Apophis, the god of chaos. They also have, you know, the devil one because it's got horns on it, right? It's, you know, again, nonsense, but they're trying to scare you. It's all the fear point stuff. So we got that. Oh, also don't forget Warner von Braun telling his secretary that, you know, first there's going to be the Russians. We did that. And then there was going to be terrorists. We did that. And then there was going to be an asteroid. We're coming up on that. And then there's going to be aliens, and they're fake. And we're coming up on that, obviously, with all the stuff with UAPs, right, listed. And that's not our friend UAP, the underrated actual physicist. You can sub to him as well. He's a cool guy, part of the truth community. But here we have, you know, UAP. Note that they talk about UFO because UAP is an unidentified air phenomenon, same as UFO, unidentified flying object. And we're going to get this disclosure, right? That's kind of a big term right now. Everybody's talking about that. And they have the jellyfish one, right? And they have the Tic Tacs and all this stuff. And they're going to, I mean, they're going to come out and they're going to say, yeah, it's real. We didn't tell you because we didn't want you to freak out. But now, right, we got this, you know, we screwed up and I guess I'll get there. But back to this Middle East tensions, that is going to blow up into, and again, I'm not just prognostic. This is not what I think. This is what the Houthis, right? So, sorry, not jihad, I'm so dumb. Anyway, just finger issue. All right, so over the last couple of weeks, and again, if you've been following the news, you know this. I'm assuming you don't follow the news because it's nonsense. But anyway, big news is in shipping in the Red Sea, the Houthis. I can do this, going to show you here since I'm just here. We can say, all right, so Houthis are a breakaway group in Yemen, which is at the south of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. They consider themselves, the Houthis, at war with Saudi Arabia. If you watch Formula One, you'll notice that last year during the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix at Jeddah, there was a rocket that struck an oil refinery just a few miles away from where they were having the race by these Houthi rebels, and they were concerned for their stuff there. Anyway, the Houthis have been attacking ships in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is all right, which is at the bottom of the Arabian Peninsula here. So if we can click on that. Oh dear. All right. Oh dear. I love my mouse. Okay, so here's Saudi Arabia. You can imagine the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. I was trying to click on that, click through for a map, but it didn't do it. But try this. Yeah, that does. Okay, so I can back. Oh, no, the other way. Other way. Minus. I'm trying to go backwards in my scroll. It goes here. All right, so there's Djibouti. All right, so Gulf of Aden here. If I back up a little bit. Come on, man. All right, so back up a little bit more. You can see where we're at. Saudi Arabia's here, Sudan, Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, Iraq, and Middle East down there. Okay, so let's cruise down here. All right. Oh, my gosh. I hate this thing sometimes. It's really, really annoying. All right, so we go there. Go here. Okay, so you can see kind of what's going on here. Pakistan, Iran is over here. Iran supports over here in Israel, in the Gaza Strip. They support Hezbollah, which is in Jordan, down here, and they're kind of lined up right along the line of Jordan. That's Hezbollah, which is a lot bigger than Hamas. Hamas is over here, Gaza Strip, and then way down here. So here's Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, right, UAE, Oman, and down here is Yemen. Okay, Yemen is the very bottom of the Arabian Peninsula, and they have been sort of at war. I mean, generally, Saudi Arabia treats them like a redheaded stepchild, and they have different, so Sharia and then Sunni Muslims, so they're kind of, you know, like Catholics and Protestants back and forth there. All right, so the Houthis are kind of down here, right? So Yemen, the whole nation here, Houthis are sort of breakaway in the control area right down here. And this is the Bab el-Mandeb right down there at the bottom. It's a little strait. It's about 20 miles wide, and only about 10 miles of it is navigable right through there. And so about 20% of the world's freighter traffic goes through there because, as you can see, it's a huge shortcut going to the Mediterranean Sea from anywhere in Asia or all the way through the Middle East to Asia. You can go right up and right through here and then through the Suez Canal in Egypt and find yourself in the Mediterranean Sea with access to all of Europe. However, all these, pirates and stuff happening in Bab el-Mandeb right there, they're shooting on ships, means that most of freight is being trafficked or going around there. In fact, if I just did a quick search here and just do freight traffic, Bob L. Mendeb, and okay, here's the current traffic. So typically, again, about 20% of all marine traffic traditionally has gone through the Suez Canal and through the Red Sea here. But since this started, you will see that it has dropped by a lot. And the Houthis are claiming that they're in solidarity with Hamas. And so they said that they were attacking any ship first that was controlled or owned by Israel. Then they said Israel or the United States, and then they said anybody that's doing business with, and now they still say that, but they're just attacking everybody at will, willy-nilly. But you can also see that these are, this is a current thing right here, and you can see that nobody is really right here, that they're out of here, because there are some U.S. ships in here helping. That's Operation Prosperity Guardian, that the U.S. has committed to in helping escort these boats through here and are shooting down stuff. But you can see how empty it is. Usually this is constant, just a constant flow. Whereas right now you can see that a bunch of them are instead coming around here, right, and all up in here because of this nonsense right here. In fact, it's really hilarious because Hezbollah has claimed now that it's the U.S. and Israel that are causing problems with shipping. It's kind of funny. So they're saying that Hezbollah says security of all shipping is harmed by the U.S. Protecting ships that you're trying to attack? Oh, stop it. I hate this stuff. Anyway, but that's what... oh, dear. All right. Where am I at? I can't see. No, I don't want that. I want this. That. Okay, gone. Okay, so anyway, Hezbollah says security of all shipping harmed after the U.S. strikes because the U.S. was trying to shot down missiles that they were trying to hit boats. Yeah, like everybody, they gaslight, right? But anyway, Hezbollah and Hamas are supported by Iran. You know this. I'm not telling you anything new. But here's the point. 2 days ago-ish, and that's what I was trying to get to here. Let's see. Houthi. And so after the Americans and the British, mostly Americans, British reporting basically tried to ignore that they did anything. They just said, United States acted unilaterally, which is not true. All right, so this Houthi insurgency, right? But here's the thing, is they are now saying, right, the Saudi war, they now believe, and they're saying openly, that this is the first of what they consider to be the final holy war, the final great jihad, in which, according to their prophecies, that they will defeat the West and set up a worldwide caliphate, and then Muhammad will come back with Allah. And that's what they believe, and they're pushing it real hard. So again, this is not me being some whack job. I'm saying they are what I'm not even using it as a means to convince you. I'm just saying this is what they say, and you can go look it up. We can certainly, if you want or need to, we can go here to YouTube, and you can spend all day saying Houthi claim holy war, right? And they will openly say, right, they believe this, and not just that they're going to crush America and death to Israel, all the stuff they normally say, and jihad and holy war, all this stuff. But now that they have changed, I mean, their tune has changed a little bit to say they believe that this is coming up onto the final battle. That's what they think is going to happen. So again, I'm just following along with what they say. And now Yemen is going hand in hand with the Houthis, even though the Houthis are a rebellion in their own country, right? They're a terrorist splinter group in their own country that has been fighting the government. They're all now friends because of this. And guess what? With America and I'll say America, United States, because America covers all of North America, South America. Anyway, United States, yeah. So the United States and Israel primarily are the targets of this aggression. And certainly Iran is behind it. And if you hear the words that they're saying in the last 48 hours or so, it will if you're paying attention, it will open your eyes. They're all in. They think this is it, baby. And Russia's not kind of saying no on that one. Interestingly, South Africa, of all people, the last hangers-on to apartheid, have now accused our friends in Israel of it's a word, but they have taken them to the Hague International Criminal Court. They've taken them there, and they with a claim, they're suing them, saying that they're causing genocide in Gaza. Now, and a number of African nations are backing them up on that. Now, I appreciate that English may not be their first language, but maybe we should, and they should understand what the word actually means. Right? It means the complete, right, the killing of a large and deliberate killing of a large number of people from a particular nation or ethnic group with the aim of destroying that nation or group. Okay? Never yet have I heard anybody from the Israeli government say that their intention is to completely remove all Gazans or those in the West Strip. But I have heard every single every single Islam, especially those doing the jihad, right, from the river to the sea. What does that mean? Well, I'll show you. All right. All right, from the river to the sea. What does that mean? That means that essentially they want all of it, right? From the river, Jordan River, to the sea, they want, air quotes, Palestine to be free. In other words, they want the elimination of Israel. Who's into genocide? I'm sorry, who's calling for genocide? One side says they want peace, right? And they don't want to be attacked anymore. Okay. And so when they get attacked, they fight back. They go, no, you don't do that. Or the other group, which wants to destroy that nation or group. They don't want them to exist. According to Islam, all of Judaism should not exist because, again, probably you know the story. Abraham, Isaac, Ishmael, and Middle Easterners are basically the offspring of Ishmael, and the Jews are basically the offspring of Isaac. And there is enmity between the two. That's why this problem could never be solved, although these many attempts, and why it's been the great boogeyman since the Cold War. Right? Once we got past the threat of nuclear annihilation due to Cold War, now we've had this Middle East conflict my entire life since I can remember, and it's only been ramping up, beginning, of course, with the first Iraq War, and then the second, and then Afghanistan, and then, continuing on. All of this stuff. Why am I telling this? You know all this stuff, right? It's probably not news to you. But what is happening, right? The changes are that our friends in China and Russia, they love the instability, right? They love that. And so they wish for that to continue because it, again, ties up the West, especially the United States, so they can do their stuff while the U.S. is occupied. So now, it looks like U.S. is going to be now on 3 fronts, maybe even 4 front war. And it looks like, right, they're spoiling for World War III really bad. Okay, so why is that? Why would people want that? Well, again, it appears to me, I could be wrong, but it does appear that they want this. They want the turmoil because, again, out of order chaos. They need things to be so bad and so scary, right, that we will gladly accept their offer of an all-knowing, all-seeing, uncorruptible, unassailable AI overlord. And they're going to launch the AI, and they're going to say, we do everything it says, right? And if you're not sure, the aliens will come, air quotes aliens, they're going to come and say, we'll help you get rid of this bad asteroid that's coming, and we'll help you do world peace, but you guys are idiots, and the only way we can let you live is if you agree to this. Here's the software, right? It's an AI, singularity. It is a sentient, all-powerful, all-knowing being connected to the Internet of everything, and pretty soon the Internet of bodies. Just look it up. They want it real bad. It's already happening with some soldiers already. They have the implant, and it does connect them, right, to each other. Now, again, to what level, and is it like Neuralink in the head? I don't know. I stay away from that stuff. I just get enough information to verify and say, yes, that some people are not lying about stuff. And yeah, some people probably are. And you got to figure it out for yourself, right? Discernment. Point being, they're trying to make a mess of everything. Why? Why would they do that, right? Because. Right? Here we go. Well, let's do this. So in addition, if you're unaware, in addition to the book of Revelation, which everybody knows as being eschatological prophecy, that is prophecy relating to the end of all things, the end of the world, there's also a good bit in Daniel, and he's one of the first prophets that really talked about the end. So in Daniel 7, we get this. So early in Daniel 2, you have the King Nebuchadnezzar, and he has to. We'll do that too. Let's do this. We'll do that, and we'll quickly go. Daniel 2. Let's just do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So, second year, the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, he had a dream which troubled and disturbed his sleep. And so he called magicians, enchanters, and sorcerers, and he said, "Hey, I had a dream, and my spirit is troubled, and I'm anxious to know the dream, the content, and the meaning." And they said, "Oh, king, live forever. Tell the dream to your servants, and we'll declare its interpretation." Well, of course you will. The king said, "My command is firm and unchangeable. If you don't reveal to me the content of the dream along with its interpretation, you will be cut into pieces, and your houses will be made a dunghill. But if you tell me the content of the dream along with its interpretation, you will receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So tell me the dream and its interpretation." And they said, have the king tell us the dream to his servants, and we'll explain it to you. Typical politician. The king replied, "I know for certain that you're bargaining for time, because you've seen that my command is firm and irrevocable. If you will not reveal to me the content of the dream, there is but one sentence for you. For you have already prepared lying and corrupt words, and you have agreed together to speak them before me, hoping to delay your execution until the situation has changed. Therefore, tell me the dream first, and then I will know with confidence that you can give me its interpretation." The Chaldeans answered the king and said, "There's not a man on earth who can tell the king this matter, for no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such a thing as this of any magician or enchanter or Chaldean." Furthermore, what the king demands is an unusual and difficult thing indeed. No one except the gods can reveal it to the king, and their dwelling is not with mortal flesh. As you might imagine, the king was indignant and extremely furious because he realized that they were all but a bunch of hacks. He suddenly realized, they have no clothes. So, so the decree went out, and the wise men were to be killed, and they looked for Daniel and his companions to put them to death as well. Now, again, Daniel replied with discretion and wisdom and said, "Hey, give me some time, right? I got to ask God to give you the dream and the answer." And of course he does. You know the story. But here's the dream, right? He finally comes to him again. It's a great story, and I apologize for taking it short. But if you want to read it, Daniel 2, it's great. Just go to the book of Daniel. It's in the Old Testament, about 2/3 of the way through. Just a couple of books after Psalms, which is kind of like right in the middle. He tells them, "This is your dream and the vision that appeared in your mind while in your bed. As for you, O king, as you were lying on your bed, thoughts came into your mind about what will take place in the future. And he who reveals secrets has shown you what will occur. But as for me, the secret has not been revealed to me because my wisdom is greater than any other living man, but in order to make the interpretation known to the king so that you may understand fully the thoughts of your mind." You got to love Daniel. He had the opportunity to flex, and he did not. Let's continue. "You, O king, were looking, and behold, there was a single great statue, this image which was large and of unsurpassed splendor. It stood before you, and its appearance was awesome and terrifying. As for the statue, its head was made of gold, fine gold, its breast and arms of silver, its belly and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. As you were looking, a stone was cut out without human hands, and it struck the statue on its feet of iron and clay and crushed them. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were crushed together and became like the chaff from the summer threshing floors, and wind carried them away so that not a trace of them could be found. And the stone that struck the statue, became a great mountain and filled the whole earth." You probably know the interpretation already, but If not, I'll read it for you here. This was a dream, and now we will tell the king its interpretation. You, O king, are the king or earthly kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, the strength, and the glory. And wherever the sons of men dwell, and the beasts of the field, and the birds of the heavens, he has given them all into your hand, and made you ruler over them all. You, O king, are the head of gold. Now, just a moment here to realize that as he's telling them this is not, remember, God doesn't lie. It's not a flattery. And he's describing the kingdom of Nebuchadnezzar, the Persian king. He says that's the gold, the finest gold, head and shoulders above all the rest, and that every kingdom that follows will be progressively less impressive. The very opposite of what the modern day narrative tells us, that the ancients were idiots and could barely, they couldn't even tie their shoes. They could barely wipe their own butts, and, they were so dumb they thought the earth was flat. That's how stupid they were. But that's not what God said, right? What God says is that you, O king, you, king of Babylon, are this head of gold. The best one. The next one is less. So just like silver is lesser than gold, after you will rise another kingdom, the Medo-Persia king. The Medes come in, right? Inferior to you. And then a third kingdom of bronze, right? Says Greece under Alexander the Great. They interpreted this, but I think that probably is the proper interpretation to this particular one, which will rule over all the earth. Then a fourth kingdom, they interpreted as Rome. Probably, maybe, but again, keep in mind that the historical narrative we're given has been hacked to all, everything. So these interpretations, as you see here, don't take that as absolute, because it says in the last chapter of Daniel 13, right, that seal up the words, so seal up the visions, so that they're not understood until the end. So nobody could properly interpret them until the sign of the end, until the time of the end. Take a note of that, and I'll come back to it. All right. So a fourth kingdom, Rome, will be as strong as iron, for as iron breaks to pieces and shatters all things, and like iron which crushes things in pieces, it will break and crush these others. As you saw the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, it will be a divided kingdom. But there will be in it some of the durability and strength of iron, just as you saw the iron mixed with common clay. And as the 10 toes of the feet were partly of iron and partly of clay, so some of the kingdom will be strong, and another part of it will be brittle. And as you saw the iron mixed with common clay, so they will combine with one another in the seed of men, but they will not merge. For such diverse things or ideologies cannot unite, even as iron does not mix with clay. Now, to this end, a lot of people have interpreted this as potentially the Nephilim and having our DNA messed with. That's a possibility, I guess. I certainly could also read it. And let's kind of point this out. I could, I don't know yet, but could read that simply as being division, in that just like what we see now, people who recognize truth and people who don't are opposite, right? They're polar opposites, so they do not mix. You could also take this to say Western philosophy and Eastern culture don't mix. This is why we see all the Muslims being brought into through, again, Soros open borders and through a number of other means all over U.S. and Europe and Canada, bringing in Middle Eastern Muslims especially in basically infiltrate, right? So they bring them in by the thousands to infiltrate, and then when they say go, it becomes terrorism right at home, right? If you're wondering why that's happened, you're about to find out, because I believe that we are about to go into what, and I don't just believe it because I think it. I'm clued into it because all of Islam right now is screaming that we're about to go into the big jihad, the big holy war, the big battle of battles to get to the end. And if that is the case, right, you could easily again say you have those who agree with Allah, right, or God, even though the vast majority of the world is deceived about who Dad is. And again, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and straight is the gate. Narrow is the way that leads to life. So again, you could take it any of those ways, but ultimately, in the let's continue. Verse 44. Here in numerology 44 DD, death's doors. So what? It's the end. In those days, those final 10 kings, right? 10 toes, 10 kings. Note that 10 kings. The God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed, nor will its sovereignty be left for another people, but it will crush and put an end to all these kingdoms and stand forever. Just as you saw that a stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, the great God has revealed the kingdom, what will take place in the future. So the dream is true and its interpretation is trustworthy. What caused the last kingdom that was unlike any others, with 10 kings that did not mix, to be smashed, a stone thrown without hand that hits it in the last kingdom and destroys it. Oops, sorry. Hold that thought just for a second. Revelation chapter 7. Hang on. Did I miss it? Maybe it's 8, but I got to make sure I didn't mess up. 6. Yeah, okay, sorry, 6. So we have the 4 seals. I've kind of gone through that real quick. Are the 4 horsemen, right? I think we are on now just about the 3rd horseman, 3rd and 4th horsemen. The first horseman being the conqueror, right? I saw as the Lamb broke the 7 seals of the scroll, right? That's introduced in chapter 4. He said, come and look, all right? He said with the voice of 100, behold, a white horse of victory, but a white horse whose rider carried a bow, right? Which is arrows, something to shoot into you, to poke you with, pierce you with, and a crown was given to him. What's a crown? A corona. It's so called the coronavirus because it looks like a crown. And it was given to him, and he rode forth conquering and to conquer. What? So the first horse, again, they used this premise, this ruse, as a way to create the lockstep, right? That we've covered before, the lockstep document from the Rand Corporation, where everybody in every government moves together to solve this. The second seal, war. We're right in the middle when the Lamb broke out the second seal. And see, it says war here. And don't always trust what these interpreters tell you things mean, right? Because it says the Spirit of truth will guide you. The Spirit of God will guide you into all truth, right? He will not mislead you. So if you trust Dad instead of trusting, somebody like Joel Osteen, right, to tell you what this stuff means, don't listen to men. Don't listen to, televangelists, right? They don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, don't listen to me either. Look it up. Don't trust anybody, right? Take care that you're not deceived. All right. So second seal, a fiery red horse came out. Its rider was empowered to take peace from the earth so that men would slaughter one another. And a great sword was given to him, right? You see, they keep trying to say war, but Jesus said wars and rumors of wars. Don't worry about it. But this one says that that men would slaughter one another. And right now, also, Jesus said, and we'll copy that. So Jesus said that the love of many will wax cold, right? So he said, because iniquity shall abound, sin, the love of many will wax cold. Keep in mind, Matthew 24, this is when he's describing the end of days, right? But he that shall endure to the end will be saved. You're going to hear me say that over and over and over. If you ever come back, if you ever listen to a thing that I say, listen to this. He that endures to the end will be saved. You're going to hear it over and over and over when I go through the book of Revelation. He that endures to the end will be saved. You must endure, right? Do not give up. Do not give up. But the love of many will wax cold. What does this mean? Well, now you have no affection for one another. So we are polarized, diametric opposites, right? And so you see it everywhere, that people hate one another, and they're willing to kill one another for the stupidest things. Every day I see people stab each other over Nintendo games, over a PlayStation, over $5 over a sandwich, because somebody said something about their girlfriend that they took as a slight, and it wasn't really. People are even now, taking out their whole families, including their self-deletion. I'm pretty sure this is of demonic origin. The number. I'll get to that again as well. Not freak you out. And again, I'm not trying to be an agent of fear. I'm simply trying to warn you, just as Jesus did, right? Be prepared. We have no reason to fear because if you trust God, He's got it all covered for you. Be not afraid, right? He's got you, right? So just hang on to Him. But He did promise that it was going to be difficult. He did say that everyone in the world will hate you because of my name, and people will kill you thinking they're doing God a service. He wasn't lying. It's going to be difficult, right? So He did not promise that it would be easy, but He did say, right, that you would be saved. If you endure to the end, you will be saved. Right? He also said, he that tries to save his life will lose it, but he who loses his life for my sake will find it, right? If you reject and deny Jesus to stay alive when you are given the ultimatum, fear not those who can take your life, but only he who can take your life and your soul in hell. That's God. Also the words of Jesus, right? So anyway, here we get, Jesus said the love of many will wax cold, right? So to me, I think that is that's your red horseman, right? The love of many waxes cold. People no longer care for one another, and there is no affinity there, right? Third seal, famine. It says, come, open the third seal, come and look. But they say famine. Again, they're interpreting. But what it says here, come, I looked and behold a black horse. And again, they say a famine. Ignore that. A black horse, it's amplified. I should probably just get rid of that because that's going to continue to be a pain in the ass to me. All right. So, because it's wrong. Right. So again, second seal, it says war, but that's not it. That's not what's written there. It says that take away peace from the earth. Yes, we can say the opposite of peace is war, but that's not what it's describing, I don't think. Right? I reserve the right to be wrong. Right? But let the Spirit guide you. See if it's got the ring of truth to it. This third seal, again, it says famine, but that's not what he says. Listen to what he says. He says, I saw a black horse, and its rider had in his hand a pair of scales. Scales, that's a weight, right? Measurements. And I heard what sounded like a voice from among the four living creatures. Everyone else was a voice. This one sounded like a voice. And I found that curious. In every place they said sounded like, or it seemed like, or they were like, you can easily, see that he's going to say it's a metaphor, or he's trying his best to describe it like something that he knows, right? So it sounded like a voice. What does that mean? And I immediately, when I was thinking about this, I immediately kind of saw that if he were right there in the spirit, as he said he was in the throne room, and God allowed him, to hear. Basically, if he heard a news report, right, it would sound. Notice how it sounded like a voice, but he would say it sounded weird. It sounded like. Today in the economy, the stock market crashed. And so, if he heard that like that, he could say it sounded like a voice. But again, I'm kind of speculating there, but. It's strange that he would say it sounded like a voice, something like a voice among the four living creatures. But anyway, he says, a quart of wheat for denarius and 3 quarts of barley for denarius. Do not harm the oil in the wine. I can pretty directly, again, my immediate reading of that is that there's going to be economic challenges, right? There's going to be supply issues. There's going to be starvation, yes, famine, that sort of stuff. But it's going to be a market, a crash of the worldwide economy. That's the way I read that. Right. And do not harm the oil. Well, I guess who's oil producers. Man, that's, just saying. All right. The fourth seal. This one is death, right? It says, when the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard the fourth living creature say, come. Right. And its rider's name was Death, and Hades followed close behind. And they were given authority over a fourth of the earth to kill by sword, famine, plague, and by the beast of the earth. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't say that a fourth of the earth will be killed. It says authority over a fourth of the earth, over a quarter of its space, to kill by sword, war, famine, starvation, plague, pandemic, and beast of the earth. And of late, have you noticed, because I have, orcas are starting to attack and sink fishing boats, bears and badgers, raccoons, all kinds of animals are all starting to take on humans, weirdly. Cocaine bear. I don't know, man. But I just thought that was interesting. So there you go with that. And the fifth seal is what? Martyrs. And this is the one that I really want to be mindful about, because this is, I think, the key to our understanding about what is coming next. For us personally, what we're going to have to go through. And when the Lamb opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for the testimony they had upheld. They're martyrs. And they cried out with a loud voice, how long, O Lord, holy and true, until you avenge our blood and judge those who dwell upon the earth? And I already cry that out now, right? How long until you avenge this world and all the blood of the innocents who die? Then each of them was given a white robe and told to rest a little while longer. Until what? Until the full number of their fellow servants, their brothers, were killed just as they had been killed. So not a day or an hour, but a condition. Jesus said, of that day and that hour, I know not, nor the angels, but only my Father knows. Because it's not a time, it's a condition. When that happens, when that occurs, then, and I can prove that next time we meet and we get through, and probably we'll get maybe 2 more times from now before we get to Revelation chapter 11 and 12, which describes this exact thing happening. And immediately after this occurs, it says that there's great rejoicing in heaven immediately, right? So what happens in Revelation 11? The two witnesses, they're martyred, right? At the end, their witnesses are killed. They're raised. They're called up into heaven after 3.5 days of not being buried. And then, right, there's an earthquake. And then here's the seventh trumpet. After the six trumpets, all of a sudden it comes back over here to the seventh trumpet. And it says now, right, the kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord. What? Why wasn't it before? Because it had been handed over to the prince of the power of the air. Jesus takes control. He takes the keys. He takes the title when that happens. And he will reign forever and ever. And the 24 elders who sit on the thrones fell before God on their faces, and they worship him, saying, "We give thanks to you, O Lord God Almighty, the one who is and who was, because you have taken your great power and have begun to reign." Didn't we say our Lord reigns in all the earth prior to that? Yes, he reigns over all eternity and over all the universe. But it also says, Jesus himself said that the enemy, Satan, right, is the prince of this earth because he took it, right? He took it. But once this happens, right, it says, how long until you do this? He says, until the number of your fellow martyrs has been met. Immediately after these last two martyrs, immediately they begin, all of heaven begins to rejoice and say, your time has come, right? So now you've taken your great power and have begun to reign. The nations were enraged and your wrath has come. And the time has come to judge the dead and to reward your servants, the prophets, as well as the saints and those who fear your name, both small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. And notice we're still in Revelation 11, and so I just offer this for anybody who thinks that this is historical, that and it's already happened, and we're in 1,000 years. Prove it, right? Show me all this that has happened. None of it, right? We can't go through all that. Where's the asteroid that hits the Earth in Revelation 6 and 7? Where's that, right? Which is clearly described. It hasn't, right? So, but it's about to. It's about to. So then. Right. So now he's going to do this, right? He says the time has come to do this, right? To reward the dead, judge the dead, reward your servants, the prophets, as well as the saints and those who fear your name, both small and great, and to destroy those who destroy the earth. Hallelujah, amen. I'm so excited for that. I cannot wait to see comeuppance for those who have destroyed the earth. And then the temple of God in heaven was opened. Boom, it flies open, and the ark of his covenant appeared in his temple. What if that were arc, A-R-C, right? Because arc, voltage, right? The number had been met. The conditions had been met. Boom. It's met, right? And then what happened? If you go arc, A-R-C, like arc, welding. Hey, suddenly what happened? Flashes of lightning, rumblings, peals of thunder, and an earthquake and a great hailstorm. Interesting, huh? And then immediately thereafter, right, we get the story of Revelation 12, and this is the woman and the dragon, the signs in the heaven, right? But we have the war that breaks out in heaven, and we also see the woman persecuted, the time and half a time, 3.5 years, repeated twice. We also see that in Revelation 11, the two witnesses prophesied for 1,260 days, 42 months, which is the same as 3.5 years. So looks like he's describing a 7-year period, which is divided in the middle. Again, you can read it any way you want. Again, I have read a lot, but what I want to get to, right, is that you are going to, ultimately, you are going to see over and over and over that Jesus say, he that endures to the end will be saved. You must endure, right? You must endure to the end, right? So they're going to, the dragon was enraged at the woman and went to make war. Dragon made war against the rest of her children who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony in Jesus, right? Clearly, this is now in the tribulation, so it can't be a pre-trib rapture. Those who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus, why would they not be raptured, right? So a pre-trib rapture makes no sense. It does in the sense of like a mid-trib protection, right? Because it says after that time, right, that he will protect them. He protects the woman, right? But that the earth swallows up the flood that came out of the dragon's mouth. So it appears that after that number of martyrs is met, there are no more, right? That's what it appears. Again, don't hold me to it, but this is what I read here, right? And then here's I want to come back to here, right? Because beast from the sea, and you see the reference to Daniel 7 1 through 8. So we had, I wanted to come back here. We had the first beast in Daniel, right? So let's go back here. So same Daniel, we had the first dream, which was the tall thing, right? The image, head of gold. Out down comes a rock thrown without human hands that breaks it, destroys it, and then after that sets up the kingdom of God. In Daniel 7, Daniel, in the first year of Belshazzar of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions appeared in his mind as he laid on his bed. And then he wrote the dream down and related a summary of it. Daniel said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of heaven were stirring up the great sea of the nations. And the four great beasts, each different from the other, were coming out of the sea. See, again here it says the first, the Babylonian Empire, under Nebuchadnezzar. Bullshit, right? This is why you don't trust this stuff, because listen to what it says, right? If you take the mind, right, he's trying to describe to you what he sees. And he will say he didn't know what the interpretation was, but he's trying to describe what he sees. Listen to this in your mind. And now think about what you know. Well, I'll suggest it, but watch this. The first one, ignore this. In fact, let me just move to something that will not include their bad interpretations, because it is distracting and wrong. So, of course, it moved me out of there. Let's see where we're at here. Where are we at? No, I wanted, sorry, Daniel. Go back here. Sorry. I wanted to do Daniel chapter 7. We're doing this. Okay. So the four great beasts, all right, different from one another, came out of the seas. All right. The first was like a lion. Here it says lioness, but the first was like a lion. What nation on earth is depicted by a lion? Let's just ask. Not a lion, but a lion. What is the okay, the 15 countries that claim the lion as their symbol, right? There's a bunch of them here. The United Kingdom claims the real lion as a national symbol, right? Thanks to England. So all these others kind of do. United Kingdom claims the real lion. Okay, let's go back here. So we have the first was like a lion, and then what happened, right? And had the wings of an eagle. I guess that would be the United States. Okay, so it was given the wings of an eagle. So a lion was given the wings of an eagle. So that would be a franchise. So again, we didn't really get independence from them. We just became a franchise. So now let's move back to what it says. But we parted ways at one point, right? So it had the wings of an eagle. I beheld till her wings were plucked off. Huh. So there's a separation between the lion and the eagle's wings, but they work together. She was lifted up from the earth. Keep in mind that feminine there. It's not in every translation. This is Dewey Reams in the Jubilee Bible, which is the oldest one I can find, like 1516. These are masculine terms because it says stood on her feet as a man. That doesn't make any sense, right? She stood on her feet as a man. So they're having trouble with the gender of language here, but it still says that I behold till the wings, because it was a lion, right? The wings were plucked off, the wings of an eagle, plucked off, and lifted up from the earth and stood on her feet as a man, and the heart of a man was given to her. So we have with the Western world, the Western society, I think you can see it. Behold, another beast like a bear. Oh, what? Come on, you guys know the answer. What's the bear? The Russian bear. So we have another kingdom, which is a bear. And it says another beast, like a bear, stood up on one side. And what are they known for in Russia? There were 3 rows in the mouth. It says 3 ribs is the way that it's interpreted in the King James, but whatever. And the teeth thereof, and 3 ribs in the teeth. And it said, arise, devour much flesh. And what country has been most noted for mass casualties, especially of their own civilians or others. Yeah, Russia, right? Through the Bolshevik Revolution, World War I, World War II, Afghanistan, Ukraine, they devour much flesh. This is what I find interesting, and I think I can see it. But after this, I behold another like a leopard, and upon it had 4 wings as of a fowl. And the beast had 4 heads, and power was given to it. I think this is talking about the Asian situation there, because but I have to go further into it. I'm going to say I'm not 100%, but that's what I think is going on, because if you pay attention, those are the major kingdoms in the earth right now, right? So we're not going to go through a historical timeline. We're saying at this point, right? Because remember, this is a dream that was given to Daniel. He woke up and he had a dream. I had a vision by night, and I saw this, right? And it says at the end he was disturbed by this. He was disturbed, but he wrote it down and kept it to himself. That's what he says. But he says, after this, I beheld, and lo, another, so the leopard, right? And then, so we have those 3 kingdoms, and it would seem to describe the 3 major power centers in the world right now. The U.S., U.K., the 5 Eyes, basically, the U.S., the U.K., Australia, New Zealand. They're all kind of part of that first beast. The Russian beast, the bear, I think you can see that one pretty easily. And its job was to devour much flesh. That's what it does. And the other one, right, we have, and I think we're talking about the Asian situation there. I'll look at it a little bit more and kind of dial down to make sure. But I think the first 2 are good hits, or the first 3 anyway, right? You got the lion, the eagle's wings that get plucked off, the bear, right, that eats up much flesh. I think we're in pretty safe territory here to go. That's what it looks like. But then we had, and after this I beheld in the vision of the night, and lo, a 4th beast, terrible and wonderful. And when he says wonderful, it doesn't mean good. It means he was full of wonder. It was in awe, so awful, right? And exceeding strong. And it had great iron teeth, eating and breaking in pieces and treading down the rest with its feast. And it was unlike the other beast which I had seen before it. And you'll note here it had 10 horns. Just take a note of that. All right, but it was unlike the other ones. It was so now we have potentially, right, a new kingdom. But why? Because it says it covered the whole earth. It was unlike the others, and it had teeth of iron. It crushed everything. I considered the horns, and behold, another little horn sprung out of the midst of them, and 3 of the first horns were plucked up at the presence thereof. And behold, eyes like the eyes of a man were in his horn, and the mouth was beginning to speak great things. I beheld till the thrones were placed, and the Ancient of Days sat. His garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like clean wool, and his throne like flames of fire, and the wheels of it like a burning fire. And a swift stream of fire issued from before him, thousands and 10,000s, and the judgment sat, and books were open. And he says here, I beheld because of the voice of the great words that the horn spoke. It was boasting. And I saw the beast was slain, and the body thereof destroyed, and given to the fire to be burnt. Right? At that, the power of the other beast was taken away, and at that time, times of life were appointed for a time and a time. They had extra life, is what it says. And I beheld, therefore, in the vision of the night, and lo, the Son, one like the Son of Man, came with the clouds of heaven. And it came even to the Ancient of Days, and they presented him before him. And he gave him power and glory and a kingdom, and all peoples and tribes and tongues shall serve him. And his power is an everlasting power that shall not be taken away, and his kingdom shall not be destroyed. Now, again, I want you to go and compare this immediately then to Revelation, but we're going to now look at the first bits of Revelation here. So, jump in here to get here, but oh, come on. All right, so here. Right, so we have these items, right, to note about the situation in Daniel, that we had the beast was given a mouth to speak arrogance and blasphemous words, had the authority to act for 42 months, right? Compare that with the Daniel. The beast was given... No, he was boasting, right? He did what? Terrible and what? He was boasting. So he was making proud boasts against the host of heaven, just like Revelation says, right? So you can go back and forth, and you have a beast, right, with 7 heads and 10 horns, exactly like what you see in Daniel. No, it's getting interesting. It's exactly the same thing as described. But there was what in Revelation we have 1 horn, which was uprooted, and you have the The horn that was slayed with, but came to life, right? Deadly wound, but healed. What do we have here? 3 of the first horns plucked up out of the presence thereof, and behold, the eyes like a man were in his horn, and a mouth speaking great things. Now we come back over here, and it tells us that the beast permitted to wage war against the saints and to conquer them, right? And it did what? It opened its mouth. The beast opened its mouth to speak blasphemies against God and to slander his name and his tabernacle. Looks like we're talking about the same thing here, right? Yep. All right. So to that end, it says then, right, the beast was permitted to wage war against the saints and conquer them. And it was given authority over every tribe and people and tongue and nation, the whole earth, right? It was given into its power. Daniel 7 comes back and says, what about the last kingdom in chapter 2 and the last kingdom, the fourth beast in chapter 7? Both of them took over the whole world and crushed everyone. Right? So the fourth beast, terrible and wonderful, exceeding strong, great iron teeth, eating, breaking into pieces, treading down the rest with its feet, right, is terrible. It's a terrible kingdom. That's tyranny, right? And it takes over the whole world, just like the one in Revelation 13. Okay, so I hope you see where I'm going with. But here, right, this is what I want to hit you with, and I'll probably leave you with tonight, because we're going to come back and we're going to spend so much time on this as we move forward. But he who has an ear to hear, let him hear. Where have you heard that before? Well, probably from Jesus, right? But here, let's go back here. When at the beginning of Revelation 1, right, he says, just like we heard before, behold, he comes with the clouds, and every eye will see him. Oh, what did we see? We saw the Son of Man coming in the clouds of glory. Oh, sounds like we're talking about the same thing here, right? I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. So, I just wanted to come down here. He's got the keys of hell and death. He's alive and was dead. He tells about the mystery, right? The mystery of the seven stars. So he explains it. I will say again, in the book of Revelation, every place that it is directly meant to be metaphorical, it says this stands for this, or it's like this. Every time. So you don't have to guess, right? It's easier than you think. All right, so back here, Revelation 13, who says this? He who has an ear, let him hear. Sounds just like the book of Matthew. But he says here, if you're going to listen to this. If anyone is destined for captivity, into captivity he will go. And if anyone is to die by the sword he will be killed. Here is a call for the perseverance and the faith of the saints. It also says the endurance. This requires the patience and endurance of the saints. Those who try to save their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake will have it eternal. That's the promise of Jesus, and I just want to reiterate that promise for you tonight. I think I'm going to wrap it up here since I've now gone 2 hours, and I appreciate you spending your time with me. I miss doing this with you and going through this, but I am of the mind that we are going to see in the coming days, in the next few weeks, you will get an indication that it looks like we are moving forward to the next step. Be not dismayed. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Trust Dad, right? He is good and trustworthy. But don't take my word for it, right? Go find out yourself, and I would love if you did. So to that end, I said earlier that I wanted to do a little thing at the end. I just want to this moment. I just want to take some time and have us all agree together, if you will. I just want to kind of pray, I guess, and ask Dad to comfort, protect, and guide all of us. Give us wisdom. And a couple of people that I know that specifically need it, if you just agree with me in that. So first, I just want to say, Dad, welcome. Thanks for being here with us, and thanks for your spirit, and thanks so much for the gift of those who you brought to me, and those who continue to reach out to me, and thank you for your love and your passion and compassion. Thank you for your guidance and your wisdom and the peace that you offer. Dad, you see where we are and the nature of the world that we're in. And as you promised, we are pressed on every side. And we are the enemy of our enemy and of your enemy. And that there are those who I know and those who I love who are really hurting right now, some emotionally, some physically. So, Dad, be with Tommy and Angela tonight and her physical situation. I know you got them, and I know that you intend to use this for your honor and glory. So I just pray that you relieve her of any pain and discomfort, and you set her on her feet, and you give her and Tom the courage and the strength that they need to endure. I would ask that you be with David and his family and all that he touches, and lift them up and strengthen them. And also, David and Jenny, just be with them. Bring peace into their home, right? And protect them, protect Lola, and be with them, be around them, and bring your spirit to them. And with Megsy and Darla and Donna, Julie, all of you guys. Again, I'm going to forget names, and so I'm trying to think quickly here. And I don't want to leave people out, but I just, Dad, you know the hearts, and I ask that you give them resilience, encourage them, remind them that you are still on the throne, and that you are taking the keys to the kingdom soon, but you are always in control. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate your love for us, your encouragement, and that you gave us a warning of how to prepare. You are awesome, and I will never find the end of your love or your wisdom or your joy, and I can't wait to spend eternity trying. Thank you for these dear ones, and for their love, and for the love that you've given us for one another. And it all comes from you, and we all acknowledge and give it back to you. You are awesome. As are you, dear listener. You are awesome, and I am grateful for you. Thank you so much just for being a part of my life in the last couple of years. It has been kind of remarkable, and both the good and the bad, and I've learned a great deal. Thank you for walking with me, and I'm here to help walk you home too. So if you're tired and you need a cup of water, happy to offer it. I don't have any Kool-Aid to sell. Not selling any snake oil or anything, just a cup of water if you need it for the weary traveler, and off we go. So with that, thank you again so much for being a part of this journey. And we'll see you again next week, or maybe sooner. I might come up with some stuff and jump in a little bit sooner so that we can learn more about this and hopefully get a sense for, he'll be back soon. So get ready. Thanks again for joining us and for your love. I love you too. See you again next time. Take care. Visible streets from me to your side, marking a pathway where solace resides. But solace is temporary.